everyone. Welcome to Design Underworld Fridays from Design Tales, where every Friday we dive deep into the dark and controversial side of the design world. Today we're talking about one of the darkest sides of UX design, dark patterns.
Sounds spooky, right?
Well, if you've ever struggled to unsubscribe from an email list or felt tricked into signing up for something you didn't want, you've probably run into a dark pattern. So grab your coffee, your dish sponge, or whatever you're doing, and let's dive into the shady side of UX. Alright, so what exactly are dark patterns? They're sneaky, unethical design strategies used to trick or manipulate users into doing things they might not want to do, like buying something by accident or giving away personal information. Now, good UX design is all about making the user's experience smooth and easy. Dark patterns, on the other hand, are like the evil twin of now. Why do companies use dark patterns? One word, money. Or two words, user engagement. It's all about getting you to do something that benefits them, whether that's staying on a platform longer, buying something you didn't really want, or handing over your data. Businesses use dark patterns to boost sales, sign-ups, or engagement, basically tricking users into actions that help the company make more money. They look like regular designs, but they're designed to benefit the company at your expense. Sounds pretty grim, right? And the worst part? Some of the biggest, most well-known companies are guilty of using them. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but which companies are we talking about here? Well, brace yourself, because some big names have been caught using dark patterns. We're talking about companies like Amazon, Facebook, LinkedIn, and even Google. These tech giants have all, at one point or another, been accused of tricking users through design tactics that aren't as innocent as they seem. Yup, even the tech giants aren't immune to bending the rules to get what they want. So let's break it down. I'm going to give you 5 real-life examples of dark patterns, explain how they worked, and tell you how they've affected users like you and me. The first one is Amazon's Roach Motel. For Prime subscriptions, Amazon's Roach Motel is probably the most infamous dark pattern out there. Roach Motel is a design tactic where it's easy to get into something but hard to get out. In Amazon's case, it's the Prime subscription. Signing up for Prime is super easy, but canceling it? Not so much. You'll be clicking through endless pages, hidden buttons, and guilt-inducing pop-ups. It's almost as if they don't want you to leave. Oh wait, that's exactly it. Amazon has been slammed for how hard they make it to opt out, with users frustrated and often accidentally charged for renewals they didn't want. Next is LinkedIn's friend spam. LinkedIn's dark pattern is a classic case of friend spam. Remember when you first signed up for LinkedIn, and all of a sudden, all your contacts were receiving connection requests from you? Yeah, LinkedIn made it really easy for users to unknowingly give them permission to access their entire email contact list. When signing up, users were tricked into granting permission to access their contacts, which then automatically sent connection invites to everyone in their email. It's sneaky, because most people don't realize they're spamming their friends and colleagues. It tricked people into growing their network, but also made many users feel embarrassed or annoyed for spamming their friends. Then comes Facebook's privacy settings maze. We've all been there, trying to adjust our privacy settings on Facebook and getting lost in a labyrinth of options. This is an example of obstruction, where Facebook makes it confusing and difficult to find or change settings that control how your data is shared. Trying to change your data sharing preferences or adjust who can see your posts. Be prepared for a journey through layer after layer of menus, confusing wording, and options that seem to be intentionally hidden. They bury the controls, hoping you'll give up and just stick with the default settings, which often benefit them. Facebook has been criticized for this practice, which makes it difficult for users to understand or control their own data. Another example is Booking.com's fake urgency warnings. Ever see those little red messages on Booking.com that scream, "Only one room left," or 10 people are looking at this room right now? Yeah, those are often fake scarcity tactics. They create a sense of urgency, pushing you to book something quickly because you're scared it'll sell out. The reality? Sometimes those warnings are completely exaggerated, and there are plenty of rooms left. It's designed to rush you into a decision without giving you the time to weigh your options. And last but not the least, Google's consent bait and switch. Google has been criticized for how they present privacy settings, specifically around data tracking.
They've used what's known as a bait and switch.
When you sign up for a Google account, they often present the most data-invasive settings as recommended or default. While the options to opt out are there, they're buried under layers of settings, and it's not always clear how to turn them off. So, users end up giving away more data than they intended because Google makes it seem like opting in is the only logical choice. So, how do these dark patterns affect us? The short answer: they make us feel tricked, frustrated, and sometimes flat-out manipulated. And honestly, that's because we are being manipulated. These patterns can lead to unwanted purchases, accidental subscriptions, and the loss of privacy. And beyond the frustration, there's a deeper issue of trust. When companies use these tactics, they erode the trust that users have in them. And let's not forget, dark patterns disproportionately affect vulnerable populations. Not everyone has the time, the resources, or the technical know-how to fight their way through complicated cancellation processes or figure out how to opt out of sneaky data collection. It's one thing to trick a tech-savvy person, but it's another to exploit someone who's just trying to navigate the digital world. Beyond personal annoyance, these dark patterns erode trust. If users feel manipulated, they'll stop trusting the company, and that's bad news for everyone, including the business in the long run. It's a short-term gain for a long-term loss. Now, what's the broader implication of using dark patterns?
Let's zoom out a bit.
Aside from damaging trust, they can lead to legal consequences. Countries like the EU are cracking down on companies using deceptive design practices, and in some cases, companies are facing fines and legal action. For example, the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe, specifically targets data manipulation and privacy breaches, and dark patterns fall right into that danger zone. But beyond the legal risks, there's also the ethical side. Designers who create dark patterns are essentially prioritizing profit over user experience. And while it might result in short-term gains, like more signups or sales, in the long run, it damages the company's reputation. Users are smart, and once they realize they've been duped, they're less likely to trust that brand again. And honestly, is that what we got into design for? Most of us got into UX because we wanted to make things better for users, not trick them. So, as designers, what do we do about all of this? How should we handle dark patterns? First, be aware of the power you hold. You have the ability to shape user experiences for the better or for the worse. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that dark patterns are just good business. But they're not. They're bad UX, bad for users, and eventually bad for the companies that use them. If you're ever asked to design something that feels sketchy, question it. Push back. Advocate for transparency and ethical design. A good rule of thumb? If the design requires trickery to work, it's probably not a good design. Remember, ethical UX design benefits everyone. It builds trust with users, creates long-term loyalty, and keeps your conscience clean. After all, the world doesn't need more bad design. It needs good design that respects people. So, let's not be the bad guys here. To wrap things up, dark patterns may be sneaky, but they're not invisible. Now that you know what to look for, you'll start spotting them all over the internet. The next time you're stuck trying to cancel a subscription or find yourself being guilt-tripped into staying on a website, you'll know what's going on. Alright, that's it for today's deep dive into the world of dark patterns. Hopefully, this episode has shed some light on the shadowy side of UX and given you some tools to spot dark patterns in the wild. And for my fellow designers out there, let's be part of the solution, not the problem. Thanks for listening to this week's story from Design Underworld Fridays, presented by Design Tales, where we dig into all sides of design, from the bright and inspiring to the dark and deceptive. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe and like button, and be sure to check out our channel for more eye-opening design content. And comment below what you think about dark patterns. Let's start a debate, shall we? Until next time, let's keep design ethical and user-friendly. No more sneaky tricks, okay? Catch you later.